Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Vizard with Business Network Television on 30A TV, and I'm here today with Jennifer Burke. And Jennifer is with Central Payments of Panama City.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
You did.
Good, good. Well, what that really means is it's actually payment processing for your business, and Jennifer's got a lot of information about things like point of sale systems and maybe the rates that you might be paying, maybe save you some money.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
I'm Jennifer Burke with Central Payment of Panama City. I've been in the payment processing industry for 7 years and in banking for 15. I'm the only electronic transaction association certified payment professional, big mouthful there, I know, in our area. And really what that means for my customers and the people that I help is that I am certified as a payment professional to do what I do. I had to keep up with continuing education and also have to take tests and really be involved at a larger scale. So what that does for me and my customers is allows me to have the information that they need or think that they don't need. Lets me know a little bit about the back end of the business so I can help them and be more efficient with what we do.
Right. So I'm guessing that, let's say I'm a business owner, let's say I'm just starting out. Mm-hmm. And I need a way to process credit cards, or you should at least look at doing processing credit cards. Giving your customers more ways to pay is always a good way to go into business versus just taking a check or cash. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot that really goes into it. There's a choice for the actual machinery, as you might call it, the hardware part, and then the actual processing itself. So what would be a basic thing for a business owner to look at?
Well, like if you're just getting started, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about your business, what kind of business you are, restaurant, retail, contractor, and what that does is allow me to really find the best product for you. Now, I could just say, okay, here's you an app for your phone, this is how you take payments, and send you on your way, and you would be fine as far as taking payments day to day. But I really want to know how your business works and help you grow it. We start with your rates. I've been doing this long enough now to where I know the different industry types, how to price you to get you down under a certain effective rate. Usually I'm pretty good at that. And then the other thing is making sure you're taking payments the best way that you want to. So like if you're going to have no internet at your store, but you're going to have your cell phone or a tablet, then we may need to do a different program than just your traditional machinery. Now, most of our equipment is free, so we're able to get you started at little or no cost, which is nice if you're a new business because you've already put money in.
I want a free tablet.
So we definitely we do that as well. We service the business as well. I sell the business and we service it locally. So we provide your paper, local customer service, that sort of thing. One of the biggest questions I'm going to ask you is how, because you mentioned point of sale systems, is how do you want to report what you're doing? Some people like just your basic cash register and a terminal, and that's how they're going to report everything. But I really want to customize a program for you.
Right, so that's kind of like what I'm thinking is like the bookkeeping side of things, to where, in the old days, if you want to call it that, pen and paper, you'd be writing down your receipts and, put them on a spike or whatever, and then, processing. That's all changed now, of course, to where we literally have it electronic, and saves a lot of time and effort with your accounting, and should save you money in the long run as well. So you're saying that there's actually different point of sale systems that would talk to different programs that do your accounting as well. Is that something that you should look at?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in the restaurant business, one of the things that a restaurant does a lot of is payroll and reporting and taxes. So you want to make sure that if you're using a payroll company, if they have a program that can integrate with a point of sale system, that you look for something that works together. Now I can process with about 1,000 different point of sale systems, so just because we don't offer it doesn't mean we don't integrate well with it. And so I spend a lot of time trying to figure out for your bookkeeping, how's your bookkeeper going to get the reports? Are you going to send them to them? Do you want them to have a login? What kind of permissions do you want them to have? Because I think trust but verify, so you want to see what they're doing.
For sure.
And so that's one of the ways that we'll figure out the best POS system for you.
Awesome. So guys, if you're watching on Facebook Live, we want you to put comments on there, and of course share this broadcast as well with your other businesses and friends that may have interest in looking at processing for a business. And you were talking about rates earlier, and that's a big subject. And some of the companies vary. Like you hear a lot about Square and PayPal and some of these companies, and it's kind of like, well, it's like, oh, I use Square and I love it, and it's like, but at the same time, maybe there's a better rate out there for somebody, or a different way to process.
Yeah, this industry is definitely very competitive when it comes to rates. Of course, as a business owner, you want to pay the least amount possible for your processing, but what you don't realize is when you do that, sometimes you're not getting the service that you need as well as the processing side of it. So businesses like Square, PayPal, the ones that we call them aggregators, because they're able to take all of the fees that we all pay and group them into one rate. Typically, those rates are a little higher because they're having to guess to make sure that they're going to not lose money on you processing, which is why some of them have different products available to you more than just the processing side of it. So when we talk about pricing, it's really important to have somebody that really understands your business, how it works, and the cards that you're going to take, because that can all affect how you're going to be billed.
Yeah, for sure. Putting those all into a block there. I mean, do people still use Discover cards? Maybe
they do. Yeah, they do. And it's funny because used to you had Visa and MasterCard, and then you had Discover that they offered a different payment processing and you paid a fee for it, and the same thing for American Express. Well, now American Express and Discover have come up with programs to where they can go all of them in basically an all-inclusive program. You don't have to have separate fees. You don't have to have separate accounts. You can have it all under one account, which is nice. I think Square and some of the other payment aggregators,
like
they did a lot of that for us, which is, I think very beneficial to our customers.
Well, it kind of makes sense because, in the old days, one of the complaints about as a business for taking American Express was the length of time that you got paid to wait for your money. And of course, the rate as well was for, a little bit higher as well. But like you said, that seems to be changing these days. So what about the advent of the changes in the card, such as the chip, and what a business should be aware of in the change in that aspect of the industry as a whole?
Really, for chip card technology, it has come a long way in a very short amount of time, but we're still not where we need to be in order for everybody to have a chip card. So what does that mean for the business owner, right? It means that in the event of a chargeback and they didn't use a chip compatible equipment, they're going to lose the chargeback automatically.
So,
there's no point in fighting it.
Right. So let's explain exactly what a chargeback is. So if I'm a business, this is my take on it is, if I'm a business and I take a person's credit card and they dispute that charge, then you need to come up with, as a business, the evidence to prove that was a legitimate charge. Am I close?
That's the very short version of it. So yes, I would say that's definitely a very good explanation. Thank you for that. Chargebacks, though, are one thing that a lot of business owners think about but don't ever want to have to deal with. So when you talk about how do we help our customers, well, I've been in this industry for 7 years, and 3 of those years I spent in the chargeback department working on chargebacks of all types. Now, what a lot of business owners don't realize is that they get a very short window of time in order to dispute that chargeback, whereas the consumer has up to 6 months to do it. Technically, it's 18 months if you read the Visa, MasterCard, Discover information, but most banks and financial institutions won't let you go past 180 days. But what that is with the chip cards, and let's get back to that for just a second, if you do not have a chip compatible device and you take a chip card, that consumer has the right to charge that back as fraud. And that's a huge impact on your business, especially if you're running larger transactions. Now, that doesn't mean that the banks are going to allow them to do that every time, but they certainly have the right to do that.
But wait, that would be like, for what reason? Just cause?
Because it wasn't taken correctly.
Okay.
So that's what a lot of people really don't understand is the chip card is exactly that. It's taking the card the correct way the first time. So if you don't have a terminal or a POS system that takes it correctly, you're subject to chargebacks that you cannot win.
Wow. That's crazy.
So
So that's good information for a business to know there, that if you have a card reader or the hardware that swipes the card and it's not chip compatible, you're leaving yourself open there a little bit. So make sure and post underneath your comments here for Jennifer. I'm sure you will answer those,
I will.
and we will too. And we enjoy you watching Business Network Television here on 38 TV. So tell us a little bit more about how to get a hold of you. Central Payment Systems of Panama City.
I'm on Facebook. We use Facebook a lot to help our customers communicate with each other and also get the word out about them being in business. So you definitely look me up on Facebook. It's Central Payment of Panama City. Jennifer Burke is also, you can find me there as well. I have a website, www.cpaypc.com. My phone number, do you want me to say that?
Oh, sure.
Okay, it's 850-596-5184, and that is my cell phone number, so it comes directly to me. I do not have someone that answers the phone and says, she'll call you back. That's me. You'll get me first time, hopefully. If not, I'll call you back by the end of the day.
Awesome. So what's the most common and what's the most unusual thing that you've come across with credit card processing?
The most common one would be, I want the lowest rate, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to have the lowest rate.
So let's talk about rates for a second there. What would be a sort of a low and what would be a, not so low?
Well, that's going to depend on your industry type
Okay.
and your average ticket. So let's just say...
Wait a minute, why is that though?
Okay, so typically if you have a higher average ticket, people are going to use credit cards over debit cards. So when
Gotcha.
we talk about rates, there's different rates for each one of those cards.
Gotcha.
We could spend a lot of time talking about rates, but I'll keep it very short and brief. The best thing to do is to make sure that you're taking cards the best way for your business. And how to do that is to look it up. We have Google and all of these wonderful resources at our disposal now, so you can actually go in there and look at what you want, and then also ask some questions to somebody who knows the deal. So average ticket, if it's $5, I'm going to use my debit card, right?
Yeah.
So the cost for a debit card is different than my rewards card.
Right.
If I'm going to spend $500 or $600, I may want to get some rewards on that versus my debit card.
Now, isn't it different for a business taking a debit card versus a credit card as well? Mm-hmm. If someone's using their PIN number, for example, if you have a machine that takes the PIN?
The PIN number protects the consumer more so because the PIN number says that, hey, it's your card, and then the business owner is less likely to receive a chargeback for there. But also the different debit networks have so many different rates for you using that PIN number. So it really, rates are one of those things that I love because I know a lot of them, I know a lot about them, but it's really hard to say, okay, if you're a hairstylist, we'll use that. If you're a hairstylist, you shouldn't be paying any more than $2 to $2.25, depending on what type of hair you do. But most of the time you can't get your hair colored for less than $100. So if you're paying that 2.75% or that 2.9%, you're spending more than you have to in order for credit card processing. Now, if I am, say, a ice cream store, like a Dippin' Dots or something like that, then your average effective rate is going to be a little higher. It's probably going to be closer to that 2.75 or 3% because you have a much lower transaction dollar amount and a higher transaction volume.
Gotcha.
So that's really kind of what dictates the rates there.
And presumably the risk of the business as well. Before we came on air, we were talking about contractors, for example, and that's generally a higher risk for credit card companies.
Yes. So when you start working with contractors and people that bill out over a period of time, you might take an initial, kind of like if you're doing a mortgage or something like that for construction loan, you're going to do your first draw to help pay for materials and get the business going, and then your second draw hopefully is where you're going to start making a little bit of money, depending on how big the job is. But what happens a lot of times is, say the contractor didn't have a material that came in on time, or we had a hurricane, so it pushed us out, a month. Well, now that consumer has a very big open window to go and issue a chargeback. Well, when that happens, typically these contractors have keyed their cards, which is higher risk, If you're keying the card, it's not present. You don't physically see it. You don't know all of these things going on. So you paid a higher premium for that dollar amount.
So wait, keyed your card means that you
sorry.
didn't get your car keys and run across there. You, as a business owner, you typed it into to
Yes.
your heart or went online to your.
Right.
Okay.
So when you key a card in, it's automatically goes into a higher tier and costs a little bit more. So that's typically where you start seeing a higher effective rate there as well.
Absolutely. So, well, listen, it's been great talking
Thank
to you
you for
today,
your
and it's a
time.
wealth of information. And like you said, we could talk for hours
Yes.
about this, and I'm really fascinated by it because as a business owner, you want to figure out the ways that you can save money for one and protect yourself as another. So, could you give out your contact information one more time?
Yes, it's Jennifer Burke. My phone number is 850-596-5184. You can also find me on Facebook, Essential Payment of Panama City. You can look me up on Facebook, Jennifer Burke, and then I also have a website, www.cpaypc.com.
Awesome. It's been great talking to you today, and we love doing business network television because we're trying to connect businesses to business and businesses to
I'm
consumers.
excited about that, yeah.
And if you'd like to be on the show, give us a call. It's 1-877-30A-TV48, which is 302-8848. And you can always email us, of course, at 30atelevision@gmail.com and anyone at 30a.tv. So we'll see you next time on Business Network Television.